What if I told you that the founder of Honda started his journey babysitting someone else's child? Not building engines, not fixing cars, but literally carrying a baby on his back. And what if I told you this boy, who forged his own school grades to hide his failures, would one day outsell Harley-Davidson and beat Ferrari on the racetrack? His name was Soichiro Honda. He had no college degree, no safety net, just grease-stained hands, an unstoppable obsession with machines, and a dream born from the sight of a single car in a quiet Japanese village. This is not just a story of business. It's a story of mistakes, of war, of rebuilding, of failing 47 times, just to make 3 good parts, and still not giving up. In the next few minutes, you'll discover how one poor boy from rural Japan turned his childhood curiosity into a machine empire. Let's start at the very beginning, when he first laid eyes on something no one in his village had ever seen before. Section 1. From village dust to machine dreams, a boy meets a car. Have you ever seen something so strange it changed the entire direction of your life? That's what happened to a poor Japanese boy named Soichiro Honda. He was just 8 years old, living in a dusty village at the foot of Mount Fuji. His family was poor. His father repaired bicycles. His mother wove cloth. They had no car, no electricity, not even paved roads. One day, Soichiro heard a strange sound in the distance. A deep rumble. Something mechanical. Something alive. He ran toward it and froze. Rolling down the street was the very first car he had ever seen. A Ford Model T. It was loud, heavy, fast. It didn't need a horse. It didn't need to stop. And it didn't wait for him. But Soichiro chased it anyway. Barefoot, heart pounding. He ran until it disappeared into the dust. That one moment changed him. He couldn't stop thinking about it. He wanted to know how it worked, how it moved, and someday how he could build one too. Have you ever had a moment like that, where the world just opened up because of one unexpected thing? While other boys studied for exams, Soichiro was learning how to sharpen blades, fix chains, repair gears. He didn't care about grades. He cared about machines. He even forged his school report card, just to hide his bad marks from his father. But he got caught, and paid for it with a full day of punishment. No food, no mercy. But deep inside, the dream stayed. A dream born in the dust. A dream shaped by steel, speed and sound. The dream of a boy who had seen his future fly past him. On 4 wheels. Section 2. Cleaning floors, carrying babies. Honda's humble start. Would you move to the big city just to carry someone else's baby? That's how Soichiro Honda's career began. At 15, he left his village and headed to Tokyo. No money, no friends, just one goal: to get close to cars. He had seen an ad in a magazine. A repair shop called Art Shokai was looking for help. So he wrote a letter. And surprisingly they said yes. But when he arrived in Tokyo, there were no cars to fix, no engines to touch, just a crying baby to carry. For months, his only job was to look after the shop owner's child. He tied the baby to his back, swept the floors, and listened to engines from the hallway. He was humiliated, but he didn't go home. He was too proud, too stubborn to admit failure. Then one day, the shop owner gave in. The demand was too high. He needed help in the garage. Soichiro started with the basics: changing oil, patching tires, scrubbing parts until they shined. He watched everything, learned everything, absorbed it like a sponge. Eventually, he became more than just a helper. He became a mechanic, and then a trusted apprentice. The owner noticed his dedication and began teaching him the business side too: how to manage customers, money, and reputation. At a time when most people had never seen a car, Soichiro was learning how to build, repair, and race them. But remember, it all started with floors to mop and a baby on his back. Have you ever taken a job that felt beneath you, only to realize it was exactly where you needed to start? Section 3. The road to racing, from mechanic to speed freak. What makes a mechanic risk his life just for speed? For Soichiro Honda, the answer was simple. Machines were not just tools. They were alive. At Art Shokai, Soichiro didn't just repair cars. He began dreaming about what cars could become. He stayed late at night, staring at engines, touching gears as if they were sacred. He didn't just fix, he imagined. Then came a new obsession: racing. In the early 1920s, motorsports were gaining attention across Japan. The shop's owner, Yuzo Sakakibara, decided to join the action. With his team including Soichiro, they built a race car from scraps. Their first creation was the Art Daimler, using a second-hand engine and pure determination. But it was their next project that made history. A hybrid of a Curtiss airplane engine and an old Mitchell car body. They named it the Curtiss. In 1924, that car entered the 5th Japanese Motorcar Championship. It took first place. Sakakibara's brother drove. Soichiro, only 17, was the engineer riding beside him. That race changed everything. The smell of oil, the sound of engines, the thrill of speed. It became his religion. He started building his own race cars. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was a creator, a speed addict. Years later, he would crash and nearly die. But even then he came back. So what drives someone to chase danger again and again? Is it ego? Is it madness? Or is it love? For Soichiro, the answer was always the same. He wasn't racing for fame. He was racing to understand the soul of the machine. Section 4: rejected by Toyota, the piston that failed 47 times. How do you keep going when your best work gets rejected over and over again? Soichiro Honda knew that feeling too well. In the late 1930s, he had a new idea. He wanted to stop repairing cars and start building parts. Real parts. His parts. So he started a new company with a trusted friend and began designing piston rings, the core of every engine. He worked during the day at the repair shop and stayed up all night in his shed, sketching, testing, failing, repeating. He lost weight. His face became pale and tired. People said he looked sick, but his passion burned brighter than ever. After months of struggle, he finally made 50 piston rings. He sent them to Toyota, hoping to land a contract. Toyota rejected 47 of them. Only 3 passed. Most people would give up. But not Soichiro. Instead, he went back to school. Yes, the dropout returned, this time to study metallurgy. He wanted to understand why he had failed, and how not to fail again. He spent years traveling across Japan, talking to professors, visiting steel factories, learning everything about metal and heat and pressure. And when he tried again, this time, his pistons passed. Orders started coming in. His factory grew to over 2,000 workers, from 3 out of 50 to thousands per month. But failure never left him. It became part of his process. A tool, a teacher. Soichiro once said, "I succeeded because I made more mistakes than anyone else, but never the same mistake twice." Section 5: bombs, earthquakes, and total loss, starting over again. What do you do when everything you built gets destroyed? Twice? For Soichiro Honda, it wasn't a question. It was a turning point. By the early 1940s, his piston ring company was booming. Orders were flowing in. He had nearly 2,000 workers. Factories running day and night. Finally, things were working. And then came the war. Japan entered the Pacific War in 1941. Soichiro's factory was taken over by the government. Toyota bought 45% of his company. He was no longer in control. Then the bombings began. In 1944, an air raid struck Hamamatsu. His factory was hit, gone, reduced to rubble. And just when he started rebuilding, a massive earthquake hit in 1945. His second factory collapsed. 2 disasters, back to back. Years of effort gone in seconds. Soichiro stood among the ruins. Everything was broken. Metal, concrete, glass, and dreams. He could have quit, sold what little remained, lived a quiet life. But no, he sold the remains of the factory to Toyota, took the money, and walked away, not in defeat, but in reflection. He said he needed time to think, to rebuild not just machines, but himself. Japan was burning. The war was ending. And a new world was about to begin. The boy who once forged report cards, built pistons, raced cars, and lost everything, was about to start again. Not with a factory, not with an engine, but with one small idea that would soon move an entire nation. Section 6. A motor on a bicycle. Japan's need becomes Honda's vision. When your country has no cars, no gas, and no money, how do you move forward? In post-war Japan, the answer was simple. You don't wait, you build. And Soichiro Honda did exactly that. After the war, Japan was in ruins. People had no food, no fuel, no future. Soichiro couldn't even drive his car to the market. There simply wasn't enough gasoline. Then one day he found a used engine from the army. It was meant to power a wireless radio. But Honda looked at it and saw something else. What if he could attach that engine to a bicycle? Not for fun, but for survival. Now let me ask, in the West, motorcycles often mean freedom, rebellion, or even status. But in post-war Japan, it meant one thing: staying alive, getting to work, feeding your family. Soichiro wasn't trying to look cool. He was trying to keep people moving. In 1946, he founded the Honda Technical Research Institute. 12 men, one tiny warehouse, one goal: to build cheap, reliable motorbikes from whatever they could find. They succeeded. Orders came flooding in. It was fast, it was simple, and more importantly, it worked. Soichiro didn't invent the motorized bicycle, but he adapted it for Japan, perfected it with purpose, and in doing so he lit a spark. This humble, clunky machine would become the spiritual ancestor of the Honda Super Cub. It wasn't just transportation, it was the beginning of a revolution. Section 7. The birth of the Super Cub. One bike to move the world. How do you create the perfect machine for a country that's still broken? That was Soichiro Honda's next challenge. The motorized bicycles had worked, but they were noisy, unstable, and built from leftover parts. Soichiro wanted more. He didn't just want to fix the present, he wanted to build the future. He dreamed of a motorbike that was light, cheap, reliable, and so easy even a housewife could ride it. That idea became an obsession. He worked for years, testing designs, changing shapes, tweaking every gear, bolt, and frame. But he wasn't alone anymore. He teamed up with Takeo Fujisawa, a brilliant businessman with a gift for strategy. Fujisawa handled the money, the marketing, the planning. Honda focused on engineering. Together, they were unstoppable. In 1958, they finally unveiled it. The Honda Super Cub. It had a step-through frame, a quiet 4-stroke engine, automatic clutch, low fuel use, no intimidation, no motorcycle license needed, and it was cheap, only $295 in the U.S. They advertised it with a smile. Friendly, clean, you meet the nicest people on a Honda. In a world where motorcycles were for rebels and daredevils, Honda made them friendly, useful, and approachable. The Super Cub exploded in popularity. It wasn't just a bike. It was a symbol of Japan's comeback. One man's vision, one nation's recovery, all on 2 wheels. Section 8. Honda versus the world. Racing to prove Japan's power. Why would a motorcycle company risk everything to go racing? Because for Soichiro Honda, racing wasn't about winning. It was about proving something. In the 1950s, Japanese products were still seen as cheap, weak, disposable. The world didn't take Japan seriously, especially not in motorsports. But Soichiro was determined to change that. He believed that if Honda could win in the toughest races, on the world's fastest tracks, then people would believe in Japanese engineering. So in 1954, he made a bold promise. Honda will compete at the Isle of Man TT, the most dangerous, prestigious motorcycle race in the world. At the time, they weren't ready. Their bikes were underpowered, their teams inexperienced. In their first race, Honda finished near the bottom. But Soichiro didn't give up. He studied, he traveled, he took notes on every European and American bike he saw. And then, he went home. and built something better. In 1959, Honda returned to the Isle of Man. This time, they didn't just race. They won the team prize. 2 years later, in 1961, Honda won 5 classes. The world took notice. The Japanese underdog had become a world champion. Not with money, not with history, but with pure obsession. Soichiro Honda didn't race to beat others. He raced to elevate Japan. To show the world that even a small island nation, crushed by war, could lead with courage, precision, and speed. Section 9. From motorbikes to automobiles, the Civic that changed everything. Why risk everything when you're already number one? By the 1960s, Honda was the largest motorcycle company in the world. They had nothing left to prove. But Soichiro Honda wasn't done. He had one last dream: to build cars. Everyone told him it was a bad idea. Japan already had Toyota, Nissan, and others. Officials said the market was full. Investors warned him to stick with bikes. But Soichiro didn't listen. Because this wasn't about business. It was personal. Ever since he saw that Ford Model T as a boy, he knew someday he would build a car of his own. In 1963, Honda released its first automobile, the T360 mini truck, and the S500 sports car. They were small, innovative, but they didn't sell well. Still, Honda kept going. In 1972, everything changed. They launched a new model, the Honda Civic. It was compact, fuel-efficient, easy to drive, and most importantly affordable. Then came the oil crisis. As gas prices soared around the world, the Civic became a lifesaver. It used less fuel, produced fewer emissions, and unlike many American cars, it just worked. People started talking. Could a Japanese company really beat Detroit? The answer came fast. Sales skyrocketed. The Civic went global, from 2 wheels to 4. Honda had done it again. Soichiro's dream, born in the dust of a village road, had now reached the highways of the world. Section 10. The legacy of Soichiro Honda: failure, obsession, and the future. What does it take to change the world with nothing but a dream and your hands? Soichiro Honda knew the answer. He lived it. No formal education, no powerful family, no safety net, just grit, grease, and a vision that never stopped growing. He failed constantly. He was rejected by Toyota. His factories were bombed and destroyed. He crashed in races. He lost everything twice, but each time he came back stronger. Because to Honda, failure wasn't defeat. It was fuel. He said, "Success is 99% failure." When others walked away, he doubled down. When experts laughed, he listened on, then proved them wrong. He never stopped learning, never stopped building, never stopped believing. By the time he retired in 1973, Honda was no longer just a company. It was a movement, a symbol of post-war Japan, of rebuilding, of rising again and again. He died in 1991. But his legacy didn't. Today, Honda makes not just cars and bikes, but robots, jet engines, solar technology. His company still lives by one rule: the power of dreams. So next time you see a Honda, look closer. You're not just seeing a machine. You're seeing the story of a poor Japanese boy who once chased a car down a dusty village road and decided never to stop running. What do you think about this part of Japanese culture? Is it the same where you live or totally different? I'd love to hear your thoughts or questions in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.